Back to service school. How to remove the long shaft that goes from the PTO clutch back here all the way up to the engine. Basically, if you're pulling the engine or you want to work on a PTO clutch, this is what you got to do to get to it. So, first thing I need to do, pull the PTO shaft or shield. 3/4 inch bolts, and I just had to grab a deep socket. I bet that ain't gonna fit on there. We'll get that out of the way, and then next thing will be this cover. I got a new magnetic base mount after plowing the other one under, and it's good and strong. It's got a nice rubber coating or cover on it, keep it from scratching stuff. Okay, now when this next cover comes off, you're going to want an oil catch pan because this is a wet clutch under that cover, so a little bit of oil is going to leak out because there's a rear end lube that's pumped up in there to lubricate everything. And I should also mention this is for 1650s, 1655s, white 270. There could be the odd 1550 or 1555 with this PTO unit in it. The dual speed, or I don't know if this one's a dual speed or a single speed. That's something else I could throw in this video, is how to tell, because from the outside they look the same, but most 1550s have a dry clutch, and I've got a video on working on those somewhere else on here. So let me get these 4 bolts off here to get this cover off. I'm just putting these PTO shield bolts back in, and that way I don't lose them. They keep dirt out of the holes. I know right where they're supposed to go later on. It usually doesn't take much to get this to come loose. This crowbar's overkill, but it was handy. Come on. Thought it was overkill. Just missed my shoe. But I got some on the floor. Now, a lot of people would think, and I would say someone's done it the way that snap ring looks, that you just take this snap ring off, and that's wrong. You need to turn the inner part. There they are. Let me grab the light here. And through that slot, it can be either slot, but you have to turn the line up with one of them. There's 2 slots just for balance. There are snap ring ends there. So you stick your snap ring pliers in there and take that out. So I think I'll plan on replacing that snap ring there just because it's so molested. Set this back here again. I need to give me a better pair of snap ring pliers. Okay, it figures. I stopped recording, get another pair of snap ring pliers, and I got the thing out of there. But you can see it in there. You need to pull back once you got it collapsed or sprung down. You got to pull it out of that groove backwards until it's loose like that. Let's see if I can demonstrate how it's. See how it's. You see the other end down on the bottom slot too. So once it's pulled back and loose like that, then you're good. From here, we just need to pry the drum out. You can engage the PTO, and that will keep all your clutch discs lined up. It's not that tough to feed them into there one by one when you take it apart. If you're working on the PTO clutch, don't engage it because that's gonna lock everything down. It's gonna make it harder to take apart when you get it out of here. So I just generally leave them loose because, like I said, it's not that hard to feed it back on. And so let's get her out of there. See if we can find a good vantage point. Okay, I'm just going to show sticking this shaft back in as long as we're at it. And it's basically just a matter of sticking it in there. There's a gear the shaft goes through that drives the hydraulics pump, so you might have to wiggle a little bit to get it through that. And then it's just a matter of just lining these tabs for the PTO clutch discs up. A little bit of wiggling usually gets it. And there's another one. There's another one. Another one. And another one. And one more. There. From there, all I have to do is go through the slot again, get a hold of that snap ring in there, and squeeze it, put it back in the groove, and lock that in place. Put the cover on. Cover is sealed by an O-ring. So lube that up if it's in good shape. I reuse them a lot, but it's also not very expensive if you want to get a new one. Ooh, this hub is a little cracked. But carefully slide it in, put your bolts in, tighten it down. It's sealed by an O-ring, so they're only 5/16 bolt. You don't have to crank them down crazy. Put your PTO shield back on, and you're good to go. So we'll pull her out again. If you were to remove the PTO clutch, there's a snap ring right inside of there. Get that thing shining out. Snap ring in here. Get that out. And then it might help to disconnect this rod that goes to the PTO lever. But then the whole assembly slides right off the shaft. and you've got the PTO clutch out and working on that, just like what I've got for the 2050 is what I did it on, but the 50 series tractors. So I'll put a link up there to get you to that. Yeah, you can just see the clutch forks in there. If you can see it move back as this would be the normal action of the PTO lever. Pushes that back and pushes it over center and puts pressure on the clutch plates until they don't slip anymore and transfers power. And this snap ring is what keeps it from sliding off the shaft. So when you take that snap ring off, this whole assembly comes out, comes right off those shift forks. Or I guess they're not shift forks, engagement forks. That sounds good. Okay, took a little bit. I've been thinking the shaft hasn't been out in a while, but to get the PTO shaft out of one of these, there's a snap ring that goes right in there. Not too hard to get out, and it drops right in the oil just nicely. But once you get the shaft out, if you look in there, the splines are the same all the way, but you'll see a split partway in the middle. Maybe I can add some kind of arrow in. But there's two different gears in there. That's, see, we got a 540 shaft here. This one just came out of it. It was a little rusty. That's why it fought me on the way out. This is a 1000 RPM shaft. As you can see, the bearings are lined up. This set, even though the splines are the same size, this one goes in farther, engages the back gear. So usually when you put it in, you have to turn it a little bit until the splines line up. And splines are still a little rusty from that shaft not being out in forever. But if it's a single speed, that second set of teeth will be in there. And if you try shoving 1000 shaft in, if you look, you can see a steel plug back in there on the dual speed. On the single speed, it's up closer, and it's a plastic plug. And if you try shoving the longer shaft in there, you'll pop that plastic plug out, and then the transmission fluid just comes pouring out this hole. So don't do that. So just for some measurements, this is where the tape measure is hitting the first set of splines. So just about 5 inches. And then if I go and that's the groove in between, so about 6.5 inches. And then if I take my tape measure and go and catch just the other side of the splines, we're talking about 8 inches. So if your splines don't go that deep, you don't have that little space in between at about 6.5 inches from the bearing flange there, you've probably got a single speed. If you've got the double set of splines in there, the inner set of splines ain't quite lined up with the outer set of splines. Like I said, for as dirty as these were, not wanting to come apart, that's not helping any. But there's no shift rail or anything on these on the 16s. This is the same for a white 270. So I've seen online where people say, oh, look for a shift rail down here. That's for the bigger frame tractors, 17 and up. On these size, it's nothing to shift. Ooh, I think it finally got lined up. It doesn't want to turn anymore. Yeah. Yeah, there, it's starting to go in. So, yep, Alan's got a 2-speed PTO unit, and that's how you tell if you've got a 2-speed PTO unit. There we go. That is how you get the long shaft out of a 1650, 1655 white 270. Thanks for watching.